you have any conscience at all, Bill? Can you even fathom what this has done to Nicole, let alone that woman?
Get off your high horse, Danny. I didn't force Ted into that woman's bed.
The moment Eva Dupree discovers the bloodstained letter in Richard's study will haunt her forever. But what's more shocking isn't just who wrote it. It's what it reveals about the person she thought she knew best. Herself. Last time on Beyond the Gates, everything we thought we knew about the Dupree family was turned upside down. Richard's midnight meeting with Mayor Collins ended in a heated argument when Collins threatened to expose something from Richard's past. Something connected to the mysterious fire at the old Westbrook estate 20 years ago. Meanwhile, Vanessa discovered Doug's secret phone and the suspicious text messages from someone named Phoenix, suggesting his gambling debts might be tied to something far more sinister. Chelsea's confrontation with her mother Naomi reached a breaking point when she accused Naomi of sabotaging her relationship with Marcus. The look in Naomi's eyes all but confirmed Chelsea's suspicions. Her own mother had been working against her happiness all along. And in the episode's final shocking moments, Thomas found that weathered photograph buried in Eva's garden, a younger Eva standing arm in arm with the very same man whose disappearance has been the talk of Gatewater County for months. The question hanging in the air as the episode ended: what really happened to Michael Reynolds, and what does Eva know about it? Richard Dupree, patriarch of the Dupree dynasty, begins this episode in his study, staring at the portrait of his father while nursing a glass of whiskey. The weight of the family legacy bears down on him heavier than ever. After Mayor Collins's threats, Richard is terrified that the truth about his involvement in the Westbrook fire could destroy everything he's built. His fear manifests as anger, making him more controlling than ever with his family. As the episode opens, we see him making a phone call to an unknown person, his voice low and threatening. Make sure it never sees the light of day, whatever the cost. Eva Dupree, Richard's wife of 30 years, moves through their mansion like a ghost, elegant but haunted. After Thomas discovered the photograph, Eva has been consumed by anxiety, constantly checking her phone for messages from an unsaved number. What she fears most isn't losing her social standing or even her marriage, it's losing herself. The carefully constructed identity she's built over decades threatens to crumble. As the episode begins, we find her in her garden at dawn, digging frantically in the rain, searching for something else she might have buried and forgotten. Vanessa Dupree Washington, Richard and Eva's eldest daughter, starts the episode in her law office, surrounded by case files but unable to focus on any of them. Her discovery of Doug's gambling and the mysterious Phoenix has left her questioning their entire marriage. Always the problem solver of the family, Vanessa is determined to uncover the truth without involving her father, whose disappointment she still fears more than anything. The episode opens with her secretly installing tracking software on Doug's laptop, her hands shaking as she wonders if she really wants to know what she'll find. Doug Washington, Vanessa's husband of 15 years, begins the episode in his car outside a nondescript building in the bad part of town. His gambling debts have spiraled to over $200,000, but that's not what keeps him awake at night. It's what he had to promise Phoenix in return for more time. Information about the Dupree family's finances that could implicate them all. As the episode opens, we see him checking his watch nervously before entering the building, unaware that someone is photographing him from across the street. Chelsea Dupree, the youngest of the Dupree children at 25, wakes up in her apartment above her boutique, eyes puffy from crying after the confrontation with her mother. Always seeking Naomi's approval while simultaneously rebelling against her, Chelsea is caught in an emotional tug-of-war. What she wants most is to find her own identity outside the Dupree name, yet she can't escape its pull. The episode begins with her impulsively cutting her signature long hair short, a physical manifestation of her desire to reinvent herself. Naomi Dupree, Richard's sister and the family's unofficial keeper of secrets, starts her day reviewing security footage from the gated community's entrance. Calculating and fiercely protective of the Dupree legacy, Naomi believes her interference in Chelsea's relationship with Marcus was necessary. She knows something about Marcus that no one else does. As the episode opens, we see her deleting a section of the security footage before printing a still image that she places in a folder labeled MR. Tomas Cruz, the estate's head gardener whose quiet demeanor hides his sharp observational skills, begins the episode tending to the roses outside Eva's window. His discovery of the photograph has placed him in a dangerous position, knowing too much about a family with unlimited resources to silence threats. What he wants most is justice for his cousin, who disappeared 3 years ago after working briefly for the Duprees. The episode opens with him noticing Eva digging frantically in the garden and silently documenting it with his phone camera. Marcus Webb, Chelsea's ex-boyfriend and a journalist for the Gatewater Gazette, starts the episode reviewing his notes on the Dupree family's connection to several mysterious disappearances over the years. His feelings for Chelsea are genuine, but his investigation into her family has uncovered disturbing patterns he can't ignore. The episode begins with him receiving an anonymous envelope containing soil samples and a cryptic note. Test these. You'll find him. The morning light bathes the Dupree estate in a deceptive tranquility as Ava returns from the garden, dirt under her manicured nails. She freezes when she sees Richard in the kitchen, unusually awake at this early hour. Gardening before breakfast? He asks, his tone casual but his eyes sharp. Ava mentions spring bulbs, but the tension between them is palpable. Richard reveals he's invited Mayor Collins and his wife for dinner that evening, a power move to handle the threats directly. Eva's hands tremble slightly as she pours her tea, wondering if Richard knows about the photograph, about Michael, about everything she's worked so hard to hide. Meanwhile, Vanessa arrives at her office to find her assistant looking concerned. A client has been waiting, not just any client, but Diane Reynolds, Michael Reynolds' sister, who has been searching for her brother for months. Vanessa hesitates before entering the conference room, professionally composed but inwardly panicking. Diane has brought new evidence. Bank records showing large transfers from a shell company connected to Dupree Enterprises to her brother just before his disappearance. I think your father was paying my brother for his silence, Diane says. And then he decided silence wasn't enough. Vanessa defends her father vehemently, but a seed of doubt has been planted. Across town, Chelsea opens her boutique, surprised to find Marcus waiting outside. Despite their breakup, there's still electricity between them. He claims he's there to return a box of her things, but his real purpose becomes clear when he asks subtle questions about her family's connection to Michael Reynolds. Chelsea, still raw from her mother's betrayal, finds herself revealing more than she intends, including overhearing a heated argument between her father and Michael at last year's charity gala. Marcus records their conversation discreetly, guilt warring with his journalistic instincts. Back at the Dupree mansion, Tomas works methodically in the garden, positioning himself near Eva's freshly disturbed flower bed. When he's sure no one is watching, he carefully digs and discovers a small metal box containing a tarnished key and business cards for a storage facility. Before he can process this, he hears footsteps and quickly reburies everything except one business card, which he pockets. He looks up to find Naomi watching him from the terrace, her expression unreadable. Doug meets with Phoenix, who we finally see is a sleek, intimidating woman with a scar along her jawline. She's not interested in his money anymore. She wants the documents proving Richard Dupree's involvement in illegal land acquisitions that displaced dozens of families 20 years ago. Your father-in-law destroyed my family when I was a child, she reveals. Now I'll destroy his. Doug, trapped between loyalty to the Duprees and his own mounting secrets, makes a fateful choice, agreeing to deliver the documents from Richard's safe during the dinner party that evening. At her law office, Vanessa connects the dots between Diane Reynolds' evidence and other troubling patterns she's noticed in her father's business dealings. Her legal training won't let her ignore the implications. She calls her mother, asking cryptically if she knows where those old family photos from the Westbrook charity event might be. Ava's startled silence speaks volumes before she quickly changes the subject to the dinner party preparations. After hanging up, Vanessa makes a decision that could change everything. She begins drafting a document requesting formal investigation into Dupree Enterprises. Evening approaches and the Dupree mansion transforms for the dinner party. Eva is a perfect hostess on autopilot, her mind elsewhere as she arranges flowers, strategically placing lilies, Michael's favorite, in the center. Mayor Collins and his wife arrive, followed by other influential Gatewater County residents. The facade of normalcy is almost convincing until Chelsea makes an unexpected appearance, her newly short hair causing a stir. Naomi pulls her aside, hissing, "What are you doing here?" "You weren't invited." Chelsea's response is cutting. "Afraid I'll tell everyone how you really maintain the family image, Aunt Naomi." As dinner begins, the conversation flows with practiced ease among people accustomed to wearing masks in public. Beneath the surface, currents of tension swirl. Richard dominates the discussion, subtly reminding Mayor Collins of past indiscretions that could ruin his political career, a chess move in their ongoing power struggle. Unnoticed by the others, Doug slips away from the table, using the house keys Vanessa doesn't know he copied. His mission to Richard's safe is interrupted when he hears someone entering the study. Thomas, who has been watching the house and seized this opportunity to investigate the storage key he found. The two men face off in Richard's study, each realizing the other is searching for evidence against Richard. Their standoff is broken by the sound of shattering glass from the dining room. They rush back to find Mayor Collins on his feet, pointing accusingly at Richard. "You think you can threaten me?" Collins shouts. "Everyone should know what happened at Westbrook." Eva steps between them, her social grace evaporating as she slaps Collins with surprising strength. "You know nothing," she hisses, shocking everyone at the table into silence. Taking advantage of the chaos, Chelsea slips away to call Marcus, unaware that Naomi follows her. Chelsea begins revealing what she just witnessed, but her words cut off as she sees Naomi's reflection in the window. Turning slowly, Chelsea confronts her aunt about sabotaging her relationship with Marcus. Naomi's justification is chilling. "Marcus isn't who you think he is. He's been investigating our family for years. His real name is Marcus Reynolds. Michael was his uncle." Chelsea's world tilts on its axis as she realizes the man she loved had an agenda all along. Back in the dining room, damage control is in full swing, as Richard smoothly attributes Collins' outburst to political differences and too much wine. As guests begin departing, Eva notices a trail of dirt on the pristine floor, leading from the garden door to Richard's study. Following it, she finds the painting behind Richard's desk slightly askew, the safe behind it open. Inside is a single envelope with her name on it. Her hands shake as she opens it to find a blood-stained letter in Michael's handwriting. "Eva, if you're reading this, I'm probably dead. Richard found out about us, about everything. What we did can't stay buried forever, literally." The episode reaches its climax as multiple revelations collide. Vanessa returns home early from an evening meeting to find her father's study in disarray and overhears Eva's anguished cry from inside. Outside the mansion gates, Marcus receives Chelsea's frantic call revealing his true identity has been discovered. Tomas slips away from the estate with photographs of documents from Richard's safe. And Doug, having failed to obtain what Phoenix wanted, receives a text message with a video attachment. Security footage showing him entering a motel room with Michael Reynolds the night before Michael disappeared. As the dinner party's final guests depart, Richard and Eva stand side by side, perfect hosts until the door closes. The facade crumbles instantly as Richard grabs Eva's wrist, dragging her toward the study. "We need to talk about Michael," he says, his voice deadly calm. "And about what's buried in the East Garden." Eva's face goes white as she realizes her husband has known everything all along. The episode ends with a slow pan across the immaculate mansion to the dark garden where, disturbed by the evening's heavy rain, a human hand has become partially exposed in the soil near Ava's roses. Episode 49, masterfully explores the central theme of identity versus illusion that runs throughout the series. The Dupree family has built their reputation on carefully constructed personas, but this episode peels back those layers to reveal the rotting foundations beneath. The recurring motif of digging, Eva in her garden, Vanessa in her investigation, Marcus in his journalism, symbolizes the excavation of buried truths that can no longer remain hidden. The visual symbolism is particularly striking in the dinner party scene, where the elaborate floral centerpiece Eva arranges includes lilies, representing death and resurrection, and carefully positioned thorned roses, beautiful but dangerous. This foreshadows the dual nature of Eva herself, the perfect hostess with literal blood on her hands. The camera work during this scene emphasizes this duality, frequently framing Eva between two mirrors, creating infinite reflections that represent the many versions of herself she's created and lost track of. Water imagery pervades the episode as well, from the morning rain to spilled wine at dinner, to Vanessa's tears in her office. Water represents both cleansing and drowning, the possibility of redemption against the rising tide of consequences that threatens to engulf the family. This connects to the broader seasonal arc, exploring whether the sins of one generation inevitably contaminate the next. As we see Chelsea struggling to break free from patterns she doesn't even fully understand. The Dupree mansion itself becomes a character in this episode, its pristine appearance hiding secret passages and buried bodies, a perfect metaphor for the family's public versus private faces. Director Ava Wilson uses the architecture brilliantly, contrasting open, light-filled spaces where the family performs for others with cramped, shadowy corners where their true selves emerge. The dirt tract from garden to study creates a literal path, connecting outside to inside, past to present, crime to consequence. One fascinating aspect of this episode is how it plays with viewer loyalty. Throughout the season, Richard has been positioned as the potential villain, with Eva as his possibly innocent victim. This episode complicates that narrative significantly, suggesting Eva's complicity in Michael's fate while revealing Richard's potential knowledge and acceptance of her actions. This moral ambiguity forces viewers to question their assumptions and allegiances, mirroring how the characters themselves must reevaluate everything they thought they knew. Fan theories have exploded since this episode aired, with two particularly compelling interpretations emerging. The first suggests that Michael Reynolds isn't actually dead, but has been helping Eva fake his disappearance to escape Richard's control. The hand in the garden belonging not to Michael, but to another victim entirely, possibly connected to the Westbrook fire. This theory points to the mysterious phone calls Eva receives, and her specific choice of plants in the garden, all with medicinal or poison properties, as evidence she's been helping Michael stay hidden while planning her own escape. The second major theory proposes a much darker reading, that Eva and Naomi have been working together for years to eliminate threats to the family, with Richard actually unaware of the extent of their actions. This theory interprets the final scene not as Richard confronting Eva about her secrets, but as his finally discovering the truth about the women in his family. Proponents point to the subtle parallels between Eva and Naomi's behaviors, and the significant glance they exchange during the dinner party as Mayor Collins is being escorted out. Episode 49 of Beyond the Gates represents a turning point for the series, transforming what began as a stylish drama about wealth and power into a complex psychological thriller with elements of gothic horror. The carefully constructed world of the Duprees is crumbling from within, with buried secrets and bodies rising to the surface. Each character now stands at a precipice. Richard must choose between protecting his family legacy and facing the moral consequences of his actions. Eva's dual life as devoted wife and whatever her relationship with Michael entailed cannot continue now that her garden has given up its secrets. Vanessa faces an impossible choice between family loyalty and professional ethics, while Chelsea must reconcile her feelings for Marcus with his deception and true identity. Doug's entanglement with Phoenix has placed him directly between two dangerous forces, and Thomas holds evidence that could destroy the Duprees, but potentially put himself in grave danger. The revelation that Marcus is actually Michael Reynolds' nephew adds a new dimension to his pursuit of the truth, transforming him from opportunistic journalist to a man seeking justice for his family. This mirrors the larger theme of the season: how the past inevitably shapes our present actions, often in ways we don't fully comprehend until it's too late. As we move toward the milestone 50th episode next week, several key questions demand answers. What will Vanessa do with her growing file of evidence against her own father? Who is Phoenix really? And what is her full connection to the Dupree family's past? Will Chelsea choose loyalty to her family or to the man she loves despite his deception? What does the storage unit key unlock? And what will Thomas find there? And perhaps most critically, whose hand is emerging from Eva's garden? And how many more bodies might the immaculate grounds of the Dupree estate be hiding? The brilliant writing of this episode leaves us with the disturbing suggestion that the gates of this exclusive community don't just keep undesirables out, they keep secrets in. The pristine mansions and manicured lawns have become a beautiful prison for those inside, trapped by their own deceptions and the weight of maintaining appearances at all costs. Whatever happens next, it's clear that the Dupree family will never be the same. The question isn't just whether they'll survive the coming storm, but whether they deserve to. Perhaps the true punishment for their actions isn't legal consequences or public humiliation, but having to finally see themselves clearly and live with what they've become. Next week's episode promises to deliver answers about Michael Reynolds' fate, the contents of the storage unit, and whether Vanessa will ultimately choose justice over family loyalty. Will the hand in the garden lead to a full excavation of the Dupree estate? And what other secrets might such a dig uncover? Don't miss the explosive fallout as all these threads come together in episode 50. Like, comment, and subscribe for more Beyond the Gates analysis, character deep dives, and exclusive theories about what's really happening behind those pristine gates of Gatewater County's most prestigious and dangerous family.